National Artificial Intelligence Association AI on Capitol Hill series. Today, I'm very honored to be joined by Congressman Rich McCormick from Georgia, who is a friend of the association and did our fireside chat at our policy summit, and was very well received and a big fan of our members. So grateful for you taking the time to be here today and talk about some more things in AI policy. And since we had that summit, the theme of that summit in many respects was calling for a national framework on AI, and that's what our conversation was about. And since then, of course, we've had the Trump executive order and a lot of stuff. So I want to get into some of that. But before we go there, you have established yourself as a leader in AI, specifically in the area of global technological dominance, anti-isolationism, and federal continuity over state-by-state regulation. You were a member of the House Task Force on Artificial Intelligence, and we'd like to know a little bit more about what is your why for your leadership in this space?
Sure. If you look at the most transformative technology that ever existed in humankind, look no further than AI. If you think about what's going to create wealth, what's going to solve possibly cancer, what's going to help us with aging, what's going to help us with economics, billing, you name it. We could think about things, even just the biggest cost to Americans, healthcare, $5.4 trillion industry. We could probably get rid of $1 trillion of waste, fraud, and abuse just by using AI. When you talk about the challenges we're going to have, whether it be in the job market, and some jobs that will replace, some jobs that will create, the energy consumption, the data centers, all the hot topic debate items are going to center around AI. When you talk about quantum technologies and how it's going to evolve and how we're going to have to be more focused than ever to resist cybersecurity attacks. Everything evolves around tech and AI stacks. And if the United States doesn't lead the way, we'll lose our place in history very quickly. Not just because of technology, but because of economy. This is the fight of our lifetime. Our ability to produce energy, our ability to deregulate and to allow people to trade freely will literally determine our fate as a country and as an economy.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. To that end, the White House has put out their national AI legislative framework, about a 7-point plan. Can you talk a little bit about how you see that and where that will mean for Congress and getting a federal bill passed?
Sure. It's very comprehensive. We talk about, IP, making sure that people's technologies are protected. It's fairly comprehensive in the way we approach patents and technologies, how we're trying to approach it so that we're not excluded from the world market. I know we had at one time severe limitations on the chips we could sell abroad. This is kind of looking at keeping the people nursing from our tech stack, but not with our most advanced stat and only with a certain number so that, once again, we can benefit financially from it, but not give away the farm, make sure we can't be outcomputed. Quite frankly, it also sets the table for development of energy, cheap, affordable energy that's going to be needed to drive these data centers, whether it be nuclear power plants or modular reactors, gas turbines, you name it, basically all hands on deck, because the more production we have, of course, the better off we're going to be. There's going to be an exponential devouring of energy as we go forward. And I think the less we have of regulation and taxation and other things like that will help us into the future. I think get the communities to realize that we're going to offset the prices so that people don't push back on it, because already there's a lot of debate. It's being vilified. And we do have to look at the perhaps unintended consequences of building massive data centers where you have temporary housing, then they're vacated, and how that affects communities. So we have to be very thoughtful as we approach this, make sure we're not leaving things to handle by the local communities after it's done. But overall, I think it's a very comprehensive plan to tackle this in multiple directions.
Yeah, I agree. In the plan, they had mentioned potentially even codifying the ratepayer protection pledge, which says the data centers have to bring their own power and water and certain benchmarks they must hit with jobs in the communities. Is that something you support? Do you think that's somewhere Congress can weigh in?
Everybody supports that. I think that'll be universally popular. Democrats, Republicans, bipartisan, bicameral. Even the data centers, you'd think, they're trying to look for loopholes so they don't have to pay for it. No, absolutely. They understand it's good business.
Right.
If the rates start going up in those areas for utilities, whether it be electricity or water, they're going to have so much negative press, they'll never be able to exist. They won't be able to build another data center anywhere in the United States or in the international community. This debate is not unique to the United States. It's all over Europe. When I was in Europe last and actually in Ireland, where about 70% of their economy. They're one of the fastest growing economies in the world. They have the second highest GDP per capita.
Is that right?
And 70% of their economy is driven by headquarters of American companies for Europe. So whether it be Google, Amazon, whatever, all they're in Ireland. Now, they're demanding data centers and energy production as caveat to staying in Ireland. If you don't build it, they will leave. If you do build it, they will come. So they have some big decisions to make there too. And Europe's got it wrong a lot of times. You can see, compare and contrast them to China and to ourselves. And they're falling behind dramatically because of their excess regulation, their excess limitations on energy production. So we got to get it right here and make sure that we make it friendly. So everybody should be on board with making sure that the data centers are paying more than their fair shares, that people are not so concerned and anti-data centers.
Yeah. I've seen some polling that shows that if you call it an AI data center, it has a lower approval than if you just call it a data center. Do you think that shows that some of this anti-data center feelings are related to anti-AI among the general public and concern for lack of regulation there?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the utility offset, but also the AI moniker. Kids coming out of college right now are having a hard time finding jobs. Entry-level jobs are being eaten up by AI. Now, there's a natural offset there as we plateau as a population and actually decline. We don't have an expanding population except for immigration. So as we start to replace jobs with computers, that'll offset our population. And actually, it might be beneficial for us in many ways. But meantime, there's going to be an adjustment period, especially for college kids who went to computer programming, did all the things they were told to do. Well, now AI is doing that.
Yeah.
But I will say this, AI upgrades are responsible for some of the crashes because they're not as good at it as humans so far. There's not as good of safety checks. So we still have our place. We still need imagination to figure out what the next logical step in evolution is going to be. But make no mistake, they're getting better and better, and they will surpass us in many ways. Just like as a doctor. I'm a great doctor, but AI has automatic access to all the information I have, and it has a mind that doesn't falter and works very rapidly. It doesn't have to pause to look something up. Can integrate with a scan or read from X-ray or a CT scan where it's doing the read better than a doctor could because it computes a whole lot more. So there is going to be a time where we're going to be kind of the backseat drivers of almost everything, including cars.
Right. Yeah. I was with Congressman Byer the other day, who of course owns a dealership, and a lot of dealers in car industry are very concerned about. I think the cars, it's my theory, I think you'll see this in other industries, is once you take your first self-driving car ride and it goes successfully, it's like, what's the saying from Julius Caesar? Experience is a teacher of all things. You have a good experience and you're like, let's keep doing this. I feel like that will permeate. But right now, I don't know the exact numbers, but I feel like a large part of the country is not actually using AI every day.
Right.
And so there's a lot of fear there.
Although you talk to your phone, you ask your phone a question, that's AI in your phone. Right. You mentioned the driving thing. It is already safer than human drivers. Right. It doesn't have road rage. It doesn't get distracted. It doesn't text and drive. 360-degree awareness at all times. It doesn't break the speeding laws. It doesn't tailgate. It doesn't get angry. It doesn't spill coffee on itself. It doesn't fall asleep at the wheel. It doesn't drink and drive. It doesn't run stoplights. I mean, it follows the rules. Now, it's not perfect, but it's already better than humans, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And I like to say, I think it's going to be exponential. Once people start doing it, you're going to see a lot of people use it. You mentioned quantum quickly at the beginning, so I wanted to talk about the National Quantum Initiative reauthorization. We have a lot of quantum companies as members of the AI Association, obviously because of the link. Can you speak a little bit of the importance of America leading quantum technology, especially over the CCP, and then that link between quantum and AI and why it's important?
Yeah, so one thing, and we talked about interstate regulations too. We want to make sure that states don't regulate individually because then the interstate commerce and international commerce would be greatly inhibited. It'd be much more like Europe. We'd fall behind dramatically. I mean, look, China has 47% of all computer or AI programmers and 50% of all patents. And they're investing massive amounts in developing what their version of STEM is and getting students interested in that. We are not doing that. Thank God for the private industry, because if we were relying just on the government, we'd be so far behind. But right now we have literally individuals putting more spaceships than all the countries combined into outer space. That's our major advantage as a country. We have massive entrepreneurship, and that's going to benefit us. When it comes to quantum technologies, already online. People like, wait till it comes online, it's going to be horrible. It's already online. Right. It's not entirely accurate, but it's very fast and it's very broad scope. it's going to get more accurate. It's going to get better, and people are going to perfect it. And it does pose some real security threats. Also, some really neat opportunities to do even counter cyber. And so when we talk about defense, we can also talk about offense. Because quite frankly, when you're basically acting from a foreign land with impunity, that doesn't help us. But if we can go on the offense and take them out, we can fight back.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah, the quantum, I think I can't remember the exact figure, but something, if you can believe the Chinese numbers, have outspent us 10-1. I think it's because they see that offensive capability and they want to beat us there, right? Yep. They're like, we got to get there first. And cyber is an interesting one because sort of like self-driving cars. I feel like until I think that most Americans haven't really experienced a major cyber attack in their personal life, maybe even hacked, minor things. But I think the moment we have a first big incident, especially if it's quantum backed, I think usually we have a big wake up call. So hopefully this NQI, it'll spend a lot of money to NIST and other great organizations to fund quantum. So thank you for your support on that. That's something that we're very in favor of. To that end, and this will be our final question, National AI Association, a lot of our members feel like Washington, D.C. is significantly behind on understanding AI innovation. It's no shock to you. Are you sensing real momentum in Congress in wanting to better understand these technologies? And will that lead to better policy from Congress?
Yeah, it's when you think about the average age in Congress and the Senate, I mean, so Senate, you're talking about 70 years old.
Right.
These guys came into the Senate not ever even considering AI. I mean, AI is a recent phenomenon, not even the last decade, the last half decade, when it's really become something we're aware of and could see changing the world, changing the job market, changing wealth dramatically. It's all relatively new. Now, there's some people in the Senate and Congress that have a hard time turning on their phone.
Right.
They don't get it. They need their staffers. But even then, it's a peripheral issue. It's like, oh, yeah, something exists, but I don't really understand how it works. It's like magic to them. And understand the deep-rooted concepts of how it integrates with everything from healthcare to economies to military to weapon systems to you name it. AI's analysis will change how you market things and how you sell things. It's pretty incredible that it's impacted so broadly. And now they have to make decisions about it. That's why the education process, of course, set up an AI task force part of that. And now we got to convert that over to how do we apply it so that we don't get in our own way. The government, as well-meaning as it is, often makes regulations that make it impossible to advance. If we allow look at NVIDIA, right? A $5 trillion company, actually 5.4, I think now,
wow.
$trillion company, the biggest in the world. If you start hamstringing their ability to sell or hamstringing their ability to process, if your R&D is not deductible, like it was going to expire before the big beautiful bill, think of how that affects the future of competition. So we have to be very, very proactive, very comprehensive in our approach to how we solve these problems and put a lot of thought into it. Because if we don't get this right, it could cost us our place in history.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And actually, we've several members of Congress have mentioned this to us before, that the market cap, the amount of GDP that goes into AI and tech just generally, maybe there's room for an IT committee here in Congress.
I've asked for that, actually. We had the temporary one.
Right.
And then Oberyn Olsey, of course, was in charge of that. And now there's some members I'm like, I don't know why you're here. But there are several members very, very much into it, learned a lot, got to go down to Georgia Tech and visit 2 different columns of AI development out of, I think, 14 nationwide, which is pretty impressive. Great learning process, but then it went away because it was never meant to be permanent. You'd have to get rid of one to add one. So there's going to be some debate there. But I think it would be very germane to these days and age where we have such rapid development. What is more important than AI right now as far as emerging technologies?
Yeah, and it should be bipartisan. So hopefully that's something we can see. Anyway, Thank you, Congressman, for joining. And thank you for being a leader in this space and continuing to support the association. We're very grateful.
My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.